What's happening, everybody, man? This is John Kitchens, and this is episode 56 of Expert Mentors Live. Man, super excited for today's episode. We've got Mr. Michael Reese on, and we're definitely going to dive into some nuggets. Make sure you guys have your notepad and pen ready. Talk a little bit about achieving your goals. We're going to answer some questions from the Q&A or chat, so be sure to use that. And I know we'll cover other things as well. So, Mr. Mike, say hello to the Honey Badger Nation. Let them know what we're about to dive into.
How y'all doing out there? I'm going to change my mic so I can get a better audio.
Nice.
Unless you think I sound good.
You sound good. You sound good.
Right. Sorry about that.
No worries.
All right, man. Let's rock and roll here. You know, one of the exciting things about today's topic is you could do this presentation, Mr. Goal Setter.
Yeah, but I love hearing your perspective, so I know everybody's in for a treat.
All right, here we go. All right, so it sounds like I'm coming in clear. Everyone can hear me?
That sounds real good.
All right. Give me 1 second. And I can share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Give me 30 seconds.
All right.
For some reason, man, I've been having computer challenges today trying to get Keynote working. I have another presentation after this, so it's just been, let's see, here we go. Got it.
Might be a Keynote issue, man. I had struggles with it yesterday on the topic call. Kept freezing up on me.
Says it's opening, got the pinwheel. All right. So here we go, man. Let me share my screen. I am an expert.
It's gonna be worth the wait. I can promise.
All right. So guys, what I'm going to share with you guys, this is a presentation I did back in November 2017. Coincidentally, you know, it was right after it was November 2017. It was at the Mastermind at the Omni Hotel here in Dallas. It's one of the few that we've done here. We've done a handful of them here. But anyway, it was going over the goal process. And the cool thing is I've always wanted to do this presentation again to kind of give it a little bit of the backstory. When I created this presentation, you got to realize that I just did a simulated Mount Everest climb. I had actually went out to Virginia, and there was a mountain out there with a guy by the name of Jesse Itzler, the author of Living with the Seal, and I had climbed a mountain 17 times. I guess it would have been 60 days after that I did my first ultra. So it's I was going to say ultimate fighting challenge. I did do that too, but no, it was an ultra marathon. It was a 62-mile run. And I did this presentation. It was an hour and a half. We're going to do it in about 45 minutes today. But the point is that, you know, I created this in the state of the things that, you know, I was at a place where I had set some of the best goals of my life. And in fact, I went back and watched the audio, the video, and I actually said to myself, I should actually watch my own presentation every 6 months because I just know where I was. So right now, you know, if you haven't seen the video by Will Smith that says you'll die on a treadmill, you know, the question is will you die on a treadmill? You know, we all get motivated and we think, you know, hey, you know, I'm going to work so hard. I'm going to do all of this stuff. But, you know, a lot of the times motivation leaves. And, you know, that's one of the problems with goal setting. So I've been motivated before. I've been motivated to, and, you know, in truth, to stop doing something on a Monday, and then Wednesday afternoon or Friday afternoon, I'm doing something that I decided I was going to stop doing. And so it's because that motivation that was originally there when you set out to do something. And so there's a lot of ahas that I've had, and I'm really anxious to go back and re-share some of the things that I've learned. One of the books that I've read since I've done this presentation is a book called Atomic Habit, which is, it's under mastermind. I asked everybody to shut their eyes and look over to the right and look down at their feet. And what I wanted them to do is I wanted them to picture the best version that they could ever see of themselves. I mean, I wanted them to see their feet. I wanted them to see their toenails. I wanted them to see their calves. I wanted them to look up and look at were they wearing, shorts, or were they wearing jeans or khakis. Literally, it was like, shut your eyes, look to your right, and next to you is look down at your feet and look at the best version of yourself. And the reason why is that in the book Atomic Habit, and actually when I gave this presentation, because I watched the entire video last night and watched it today, one of the things that I shared was that you have one of two identities. You have an identity in your mind. And the funny thing is that like driving understanding the identity of who you actually are, and where you're not being congruent in your life, and then who you want to be, and where that gap is the goal, right? And that's for every area of your life. So you say you want to die on a treadmill. I said that I wanted to climb a mountain. When I went to that website, 21029, the height of Mount Everest, we climbed it with 300 of the top athletes in the world. 30 people finished. And I'm telling you guys right now, when I did my first lap on that mountain, I knew I was in over my head. I had not properly trained. I was not ready. And it was going to take freaking dying on the mountain mindset in order to get there. And that was when I wanted, but I was in a position where I was going to have to actually start fighting with this mind thing that we have. And so, for me, and since I'm talking to the Honey Badger group guys on July 4th, I shared the Airbnb with John Kitchens. I came in on a Sunday and I left on a Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. I was scheduled to be there Sunday to Sunday. And the reason why is we were listening on the front steps of that kind of place that we were at. I ended up listening to a podcast, and I realized that I'd been at a lake for the entire week before, and I was going to a lake the next week, and that I was not congruent with my goals. I wanted to get serious about agent attraction, and I wasn't going to get there, even though I wanted to be at the lake with my buddies, and I drove 4 hours to be there, and it was 6 hours drive on the way home. I realized right there and then that I was setting a goal that I wasn't working for, and on that 6 hour drive home, I literally set a goal that I was going to do. It was actually 44 workshops by the end of the year. That was what I did because I did the math. And so guys, that's the mindset of dying on the treadmills, that when you reach out there and you say, I'm going to do something, but don't say you're going to do it and don't do it. Don't just rely on motivation. There's a lot of questions that you have to ask yourself. And so this is the process to achieving your goals, the process to living your life by strategy, in the process of modeling, learning, and really learning how to teach or learn anything. The goal process is something that we came up with. And to be honest with you, I came up with it after learning how to develop products. Like if you look in the bottom left right-hand corner of my screen, you see a circle with a bunch of circles around it. The middle circle is the goal. The outer circles are the deconstructed steps that it takes to get to the goal. Because every goal has a process of which you have to do something. Because if you were already able to achieve the goal, you would have already achieved it. You had not achieved the goal because you haven't taken the steps in order to get there. And so it's the process that we're talking about of achieving your goal. So goal setting is the process of establishing an outcome, a goal, to serve as the aim of your actions, right? So what things are you going to do? And if you haven't heard it, if you haven't read the book, The Compound Effect, go buy one. In fact, buy two. And if you have a kid, buy one for each of your kids and give it away, because The Compound Effect is an amazing book. And what it says, first of all, you're not going to change and get to your goal unless you identify the things that you have to change in your life that you're going to do daily. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But think about the compound effect, right? You're going to either suffer one or two pains. You're going to suffer the pain of discipline or the pain of regret, period. And so if you're not where you want to be, there's different dimensions. If you're not doing the things that you want to do with your time, if you're wasting time, really understanding and looking at your goals and figuring out a way, how can I spend the time doing the things that I want? How can I stop wasting time? How can I collapse time? Those are the different dimensions, because when we look at goals, right? I mean, for me anyway, I could have gotten to real estate and looked at someone and said, oh, listen, you sold 531 homes. I want to sell 531 homes. How long did it take you? 29 years? Good. Let's get on that plan. No, that's not the plan that I want to be on. I want to be on the plan that allows me to get to the goal, but do it in the dimension of time. Time is a dimension, right? Anything can be done, but can you do it in the time frame? And so it's really looking at, you know, asking the question, right? Do you get happier when you hit your goals, or do we hit our goals and become happier, right? That's the question. That's the question. Does motivation drive behavior, or do your behaviors get you motivated? And so at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, you know, for me personally, I think that I've heard multiple feedbacks on this question. Oh, I think once you hit your goals, you're happier. Of course you're happier, right? Of course you get happier when you hit your goals. But once you get to your goals, do you become happier? I believe that, you know, I've achieved some goals and haven't become happier. I'm either happy or not. I'm not happy is being happy and content with where I am, right? But by hitting my goals and understanding, for me personally, that I'm becoming the person that I need to become, not specifically the outcome, although that is the goal. It's the process. It's falling in love with the process. I watched the guy, what's that guy's name that played basketball? He was a mixed guy, really tall, and he played for OU, tall guy, about 8 or 9 years ago. Griffin, maybe?
Oh, Blake Griffin?
Blake Griffin. I never forget watching Blake Griffin. I don't watch a lot of ESPN. I just knew this guy, barely knew who he was. Did his brother play too or something like that?
Yep, they did. They're from Norman. They played at OU.
This is like the only basketball story I know. And it's because I watched ESPN and this dude said, listen, he was running up and down sand dunes, up and down sand dunes, sand dunes. And he said, listen, I fell in love with the process, not being the best basketball player, but the process and the things that I had to do everything. So like, until you can like understand the identity of, you know, climbing a mountain or running an ultra marathon, that's the result of that. I've done the work in order to get there. It was the process that I had to go to every day, the day of actually getting up and organizing my time and doing the things that I didn't want to do and doing them anyway, then becoming a better person and understanding me becoming a better person and setting out a goal and accomplishing those goals was being a good role model for my kids in order to for them to be able to do that thing as well, and making those sacrifices when I wanted to go here or go there, but I went out and got my run in and got up a little earlier, stayed up a little later, you know, sacrificed, you know, having that extra drink so that I could get somewhere. It was that process, right? And so, you know, and this is the same process that I use for agent attraction, but the question is do you have a desired outcome from every area of your life? Do you have a goal, a family goal, right? Do you? I certainly have a family goal, 100%. Do you have a health goal? I absolutely have a health goal, and I have a whole side story I was going to talk about, but in lieu of time, we're not going to talk about it today. Do you have a business goal? You know, whatever your spiritual beliefs are, doesn't matter to me, but do you have a goal around that or your relationships? So really understanding the desired outcomes and understanding where you are and what you want to be. You know, I'm going to tell you what Jay Abraham said. He said, it's hard to be great, Mike, when you don't know what greatness looks like. When you don't know what the first thing you can do is define what it is in those areas. It's the pursuit and the accomplishment, right? That should both make you happier, right? So you have to ask yourself, so what if I accomplish the goal? You know, what does it really mean, right? And if you don't get clear on that, a lot of people, I'm telling you right now, and you know I'm right, you set goals and they don't really matter. You do them because you're motivated, and once the motivation's lost, the goal's really there. And I'll tell you, set a real big-ass goal. Set a goal to run 100 miles and then, you know, see how good you are at goal setting, right? Because the thing is that you can set a goal. You can go set a goal to make more money, and then, you know, you can work towards it. And if you don't hit the sales goals and, you know, well, the leads weren't good or the market wasn't right, well, set a goal where all that shit doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that it's possible for you to do it, and are you willing to do the work? You see The Biggest Loser, people 400 pounds, 350 pounds, can't run a mile at the beginning of the show, and at the end of the show, they're 10%, 12% body fat running a marathon. Why? Because they changed something they do daily. They set a big goal. They at least believed enough to get off the couch and do the application online to see if they could actually get on the show, right? I mean, how many people saw the television commercial and they need to be on the show? They love to be on the show. And they're like, hey, listen, if you want to be on the show, go to biggestloser.com and put in your app. And they're like, oh, shit, that would never happen. They'll never pick me. So they don't even get up, right? They're not even getting into the game. But it's understanding, guys, it's understanding the pursuit and the accomplishment. The value of achievement lies in the achieving. That's an Albert Einstein quote. That guy achieved a lot. He achieved a lot, but it's in the process, not the achievement, in the achieving, in the process. That's why it's not called the goal. It's called the goal process. The goal process is because it's who you become. So ask yourself, if I audited how you spend your time, what areas of your life you're lacking attention? I can ask your wife. I can ask your kids. I can look at you, right? Where are you right now? Where would your spouse say you invest your time? In correlation, this is all about being vulnerable. You can't change anything until you actually, that's why, think about this. The number one thing on change, I think, is the 12 steps or whatever they talk about. There's a lot of psychology behind that. There's a lot of research. Scientists have studied it, why it's effective. But you know, the first thing that you have to do is admit you have a problem. Like, until you actually admit you have a problem, like, oh, you know what? I have a problem in my family's life. I have a problem in my health life. I have a problem that I need to address in my business or my relationships. So ask yourself, where are you now? Where are you balanced? Where are you incongruent? Where are you not balanced, right? What things are you not doing well in alignment with the identity that you want to be doing? Like, you have to be able to really get clear on the goals, and then you get to focus and you have choices. Because once you get really clear, guys, once you get really clear on where you are, where you want to go, here's what happens. Imagine you have a stove of Bunsen burners. What happens is the goals you have in your life, when you turn up the flame on the burner, and it goes up, the other one goes down, and the other one goes up, and the other one goes down, because goals fight for your attention, okay? They fight for your attention. And there's a lot of research and stuff that's been done out there. I could, if we were doing a 2-hour deal on goal setting, that there's tons of research out there that when you set goals, they fight for your attention, and it's just a fact. And so you have to get really, really clear on the goal. When the goal is so clear, when it is so clear, right? Then you know what you're doing, why you're doing it, then accomplishing it is way easier. You've heard the deal that is when the why is clear, the how is easy, right? And so it's not just the goal, it's the accomplishment of the goal and all the secondary impacts of the goal and the people that you can. For me, sometimes it's, me doing better helps other people understand that it could be done, because a lot of the times most people are fighting with their own personal beliefs. So here's some insights I learned from setting goals. First of all, set big goals. Guys, listen, I'm not here. Listen, my physical body, I can feel it in my body. When I was going to run an ultra marathon, I felt it in my body. I sat in the car going across a bridge and looked over at my buddy, and I said to him, do we really want to do this? Are you sure? Not because I was just like, oh, I'm going to do it and then never knew it. Because I knew once that was the goal, that I knew I was going to be waking up every damn day working towards that goal. And so, and I said, here's the deal. We had been toying around with it, kicking it around, BSing ourselves. And I finally said, you know what? Here's the deal. I think we were in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm not sure. I said, we had a 20-minute drive. I said, how far are we? We're about 20 minutes away. I said, I want to know before we get there if we're going to do this or not. I'm tired of talking about it in every city, every time we go. I was opening up these workshops back then, and I would tell people how I was wanting to train for an ultra. I was just telling them. I told them about the mountain climbing that I wanted to do an ultra, but I was just talking about it. And I was tired of going in front of people telling I was gonna, thinking about doing it. And I said, I'm going to change my language. At the next one, I'm going to say that I'm doing it and which one I'm doing. That's what I'm going to do. And so we're either not going to do it. And I remember it all came down to literally the discussion came down to when I was a grandpa. That's what it came down to. I was like, when I'm a grandpa, when I physically can't do it anymore, and I'm sitting down with, my son asked me to speak to one of his sons, or maybe my sons, maybe I'm on my deathbed or something, what conversation am I going to have of who I was when I'm not that person anymore? And maybe I'm needing to lead and inspire someone in my family, maybe at my church, maybe it's a friend that's having a hard time in their life. who and what life experiences have I put myself through to do real hard shit that I could maybe even, you know, help kind of chew up the hay and spit out the straw when they're struggling. And that's what it was. Running an ultra marathon was a mind game. It was a mind game. So what is the biggest goal you have right now for your health? My question is this. If you went out, we just got back from the Kentucky Derby. If you went out and bought $1 million horse, you wouldn't feed it chili and cheese Fritos. You know what I mean? What would you feel if you bought $1 million horse? $1 million horse. How would you look at the nutrition for that horse? And guys, I'm here to tell you, I don't care what goal you have. If health isn't a goal, you can accomplish all the other ones, but here's the problem. It doesn't matter, because without your health, you don't have your time. Without your health, you can't enjoy your money. Without your health, you can't enjoy your family. So like, if you ain't prioritized your health goal, then you might have your goal set up in the wrong order. Listen, change happens in an instant. It's your decision to change that takes a long time. So if you had $1 million horse, I'm sure you would feed it something good, something healthy, wouldn't you? So your goal is to identify the constraints up front. What's the logical constraint that might, just might, not for sure, but might make it difficult for you to achieve your goal? That's your job, is to identify the things before you even start. Before you even start, I'm going to tell you right now, I did this the other day, and it's funny, but if I'm going to get in the best shape of my life, I have to be in bed before 9 o'clock. Because the choice of my bed leads to the choice of my workout, the choice of, especially during the first 21 days. If I take my, because I'm naturally wired, if I take my melatonin between 8 and 8:30, my ass will be asleep by 9. If I'm asleep by 9, I'm going to pop out of the bed at 4:30 regardless. If I'm up at 4:30, there ain't anything else to do but work out. It's just the way that it works. If I try to balance, and I just know that, so I understand the constraints going up front. I'm logical going up front. What are the behaviors that might make it difficult for you to achieve your goal? Guys, listen, if you put red wine in my house, I ain't getting in shape. It's just a fact. I don't care. It tastes too good. I love it. I'll make every excuse. I'm going to have 1 glass or just maybe 2.
Yep.
I have to just get this, literally, at least for the first 21 days that I'm trying to get back on my game, nothing can be in the house. I can't even get it at the store. It can't be, I can't even buy it. That's me. I know that my behavior, if that damn bottle is sitting in my wine room and I can walk in there and just pour me 1 glass, it's going to be 2. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to be Googling some random stuff, maybe about doing something on YouTube or building some funnel. And then I'm going to be up all night. And then that 1 glass that I was going to have tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and just finish it because the bottle's almost done, right? So I know my behaviors. I manage those up front. Who might make it difficult for you to achieve your goals? It's so funny we're doing this because, guys, I'm not making this up. I went through this process in the last 7 days. I'm not going to give any more insight than that, but that I have a goal. And I was specifically thinking about things, behaviors, logical constraints, and situations that would make it harder for me. I'm just trying to stack the deck in my favor. So the question is, should you tell people about your goals? What I can tell you is this. That's a different question than should you be accountable to your goal, okay? 2 different questions. So one thing you got to understand is that actually telling people about your goal makes you feel the accomplishment of the goal. And so in my opinion, and this is just what the research says, these slides have notes, I'm not looking at them, but I did all the research. I believe in the beginning that you don't want to give yourself a false positive. Because just because they're setting the goal and then they're setting the things that you're going to do every day to get there. I believe getting clear on what you're going to do every day and the numbers you have to produce, which is an effort metric, that you should set that and that you should share that with somebody. But just going out and telling or your spouse or someone, hey, I'm gonna do a marathon. At the beginning, that's gonna make you feel some step in of accomplishment, but that's not meaning that you're gonna run 3 miles tomorrow. That doesn't mean that in order for you to be successful, you're gonna actually go and get a calendar. That doesn't mean, now could you tell somebody who's your accountability partner, here's the goal. My goal is I'm gonna text you when I'm going to bed every night, and I'm gonna be in bed by 9 o'clock every night. That's my accountability. That's because and now I don't have to tell them I'm doing that so that I can go run an ultra marathon, but I can be accountable to that metric of something I do daily, which is getting my ass in bed, right? So the intention or the behavior gap. So there was a 2009 psychologist study that found another good way to accomplish your goals to avoid telling other people about them, because letting another person know what you're up to can give you a premature sense of completeness. And so I'm not saying that once you're onto it, you can't share it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying in the very beginning, if you want to stack the odds in your favor, get your efforts going, start your process, taking action. Don't give yourself an accomplishment feeling because you told a bunch of people. Now, once you're on your way, you can have an accountability partner. You can share that with someone in the future. But just it's like water skis, getting up on the skis is the most important first step. Writing them down, obviously we know that's important. Why? Here's the reason why. When you write a goal down, what happens is you really get clear on if that's the goal. I think that your goal should be very specific, right? And what I mean by that is you should write down the outcome. You should have everything that I just said. You should write down the outcome, what you're trying to accomplish, what the benefits that you think they are. Whatever it is, that you should write that information down, and you should be able to thread the needle and have congruency that all the things that you're doing and the reasons why that you're doing it line up, right? You can affirm the meaningfulness before you actually commit. So, I didn't run the ultra marathon, guys, in order to run the marathon. I had a different reason. One is that I wanted to be able to this is just me. I believe that if you can do things that you don't want to do every day, that your ability to be successful is increased greatly, because some of the things that we need to do in order to get to where we want in life aren't fun. And that if I could put myself in a situation where I have if it would have been 3 miles, guys, it wouldn't have been anything. But I will tell you the contrast principle is that when you set a goal to run 100 miles, 3 miles isn't hard anymore, right? It's not even, it feels like a waste. So what it did for me in my life on the long term is it helped me commit to a more long-term life of being fit, because, beforehand I would just struggle getting my 3 miles in, right? Until I stretched my paradigm and I'm like, oh, it's just 3 miles, 30 minutes. What the hell's that? I ran from 7 in the morning to 1 at night. That's not even, and here's the thing. Here's my favorite one. What pain or sacrifice are you willing to make to hit a goal? If you don't know that, that's where I start. That's where I start. If you don't know what pain or sacrifice you're willing to make, then I would, and then I would say, if you want to get better at the process of setting goals and achieving those goals, then get really clear on the things you're going to have to give up and the things that aren't going to be pleasant. And make sure on the front end that you understand those and you fall in love with those. And that's just what I did. I fell in love with the things that I was going to have. And guys, listen, I'm not saying that by any means that I'm perfect. I'm being transparent and telling you what I went through, because I set goals that seem I have goals right now that are probably easy for you. And to me, they're the 100-mile goal, and they're easy to you. Eating vegetables, that's a 100-mile goal for me, But if I'm going to eat vegetables, then I'm going to buy. This is a true statement. I'm going to buy a head of broccoli, and I'm going to wake up in the morning, and I'm going to do that right when I get up. I'm going to walk up, pull the broccoli off, and there's 8 out. You know why? Because my identity is I do the things that I hate, and I do them early, and I get them out the way. And this is an inner joke. I had this conversation with somebody. So if I need to eat healthier and get better, then I just need to let's just give me the worst food right there in the morning, because then everything for the rest of the day is easier. And that's how I approach things. Everybody has their own thing, but that's the pain. I hate broccoli. Maybe you don't. Everybody's different. But it's easy to want the result from setting a goal, but are you willing to accept the sacrifice? That's the question. Are you willing to accept the sacrifice? Everybody wants to be an Olympian, but nobody wants to train like one. That's the point. So the goal is this, to you guys, you have 100-0. What does that mean to you? 100-0. 100-0 means 100% accountability, 0 excuses. It's in the compound effect on page 70 something where he talks about it, right? But the goal process is all about the mindset. It's about alignment. It's about knowing the habits you're going to have to create in order to get there. It's about focusing and having the attention. Guys, you don't have to be there. You can mess up. But as long as you have the goal, you have the attention, the right intentions, and you're aligned with your behaviors, and every day you're working on the habits, then it can be, if it's a skill, whether it's becoming better at generating leads or articulating your value, or marketing, which that could be it, and it's business or related. Whether it's it's in your personal life, having more meaningful relationships and learning how to get your ego out of the way and say sorry for just saying sorry, regardless if you're wrong or right, just letting other people know that you're empathetic to them, the way they feel, not trying to be right all the time and being hard to be around and be difficult. The goal process, it's a method, it's a process. So you want to be a hyper realist and stop BSing yourself. That's where you need to start. If you want to be a super achiever, then let me tell you something. First of all, you wouldn't like hanging around me, because when I run, I think of all the places I'm dropping the ball, all the places I can be doing better. My elbow doesn't hurt from tapping myself on the back, right? Like I feel, I'm not in terrible shape. I could get out and I'd probably run a marathon if I had to today. But you know what? I feel fat. I feel like I could do better. I was on the phone back to back until I rode into my house at 9 o'clock last night, woke up early working on my agent attraction. You know what I mean? And I still think I can do better. So I'm being a hyper realist. I'm not telling myself I'm doing the best. I'm always trying to be really hyper real with myself. So don't rely on motivation. Ask yourself where you're being a flake. Where are you being a flake? Be honest. Like, hey, man, you know what? You're being a flake here. You say this, but you're doing that. What good or bad habits have you been trying to inconsistently create or break, right? Where are you being inconsistent? I'm telling you, one of the biggest secrets to life is consistency, man. It's being consistent. So asking yourself, where am I inconsistent? Where am I being a flake? Where do other people see me doing good, but I know that I'm cutting corners and not getting the job done? What goals did you set that you never followed through on because they were not truly congruent with your life, right? For me, guys, I'm so excited. I got this. I'll tell you one of my goals. You want me to tell you it, John?
Absolutely.
I'll be accountable. I'm not supposed to tell you, but I'm going to tell you. But one of mine is to juice, man. I want to juice. I want to juice for 365 days straight. In my mind, I'm like, well, it's expensive. It's not as expensive as what's those drinks called? Moscow Mules. Those Moscow Mules are $15 a piece in Vegas, right? So yes. So anyway, that's one of mine is to juice. Another one was a certain vitamin that I wanted to take. I've had one around taking vitamin C 1,000 milligrams a day because of all the benefits, but that's related to my health. Anyway, so you make time or you make an excuse. That's the bottom line. You want to align to your life goals. You want to align to something that you can that you can accomplish. You want to align to how you want to spend your time. That's my opinion. When you don't have the alignment, it's completely different. You want to have habits. What's the number one habit that's holding you back from your desired outcome? What's the root of the problem of creating a new or breaking an old habit? What's the root?
I know you're cranking here, but there's something, man, I got to share with everybody that's tuning in here. Like share some truth. I remember, man, I don't know if we were with the HOA or where we were at or whatever. And we came back into the old office that got the locks put on it. And we were sitting there and we were talking about creating and open up all these other offices across the country. And we were up there, Kendra and I were drawing on the board, and you were sitting back there in the chair, you were leaned back, and we said,
we spent days. This was 2 days we spent.
And
we
you
spent
go,
2 days getting to that point.
You go, that's not the life I want to live. That doesn't look like fun. And we made it from that conversation, we pivoted and went a whole nother direction, right? We were going franchise. We were going to create partner, but it wasn't congruent to everybody that was going to be involved. So what that previous slide that you just talked about, that's living it, right? Living true to that. And I had to.
No, absolutely, man. I appreciate. Yeah, chime in, man. my main thing is, how do you define a bad habit, guys? Are you selfish? I just have a hyper awareness when I'm being selfish, man. And I have goosebumps right now because, I think our natural human tendency is selfish. There's a book out there called The Selfish Gene. And I think that there's a lot of good. I do believe in the book. There's success that comes with it, but there's a good time for it. I think it can make you hyper competitive and stuff like that, but it can also be overbearing to a lot of people and drive the wrong things. So are you combative with people you love? Do you have an undisciplined pursuit of more, right? Are you not content and happy with what you have? This is when I'm trying to align my goals. Are you a good listener, right? Like these are the reason why is I'm just giving you things of questions I ask myself. If I want to improve my relationship with my spouse, with my kids, am I listening to them? And guys, listen, I'm not giving advice here. I can do a better job. These are just, but no change starts without the awareness. It's the awareness process. Do you judge others on their decisions? Are you judging other people? Do you have inaccurate thought based upon feelings with zero facts, where you just, things are happening and you're assuming that other people have bad intentions when you have no facts, versus having a mental model of always assuming positive intent, right? Intentions are so good. You want to start with awareness of your intentions. Where's the gap between your intentions and your result, where you're intending this, but your result is lacking? Where do you sacrifice your intentions because of the effort? Where, well, I want this, but, I'll tell you what, man, my intentions have always been to have a clean car. And I literally set a goal, man, 2 weeks ago to keep my car immaculate and to clean my wife's car me and her car on Sundays. And so I went out, I researched the best way to do it. I came up with the system, and for under, I got it down to $100 a month. I bought a membership to this place. It's by the house. I do where they do the inside once, and then I can go as many times in between. And my cars are immaculate. And that's not in alignment with me, but they are. You get my car, it looks like a new car, and it cost me less than $100 a month to keep me and my wife's car spotless, right? That was a goal that I had. So skills, what skills are you lacking right now? What skills do the people have that you're trying to get the results so if someone has the results you want, what skills do they have that you should be trying to model, right? Is there a goal around skills? What things are you waiting on right now? Like when you're trying to accomplish something and you can't get it done, like let's say whether it's, you want to build a funnel, but you can't get it done. What are you waiting on? Where are your wait stations? Being hyper aware of where you're not able to execute allows you to understand, maybe some of the things that are hoping. I mean, I meet a lot of people that want to execute, but they can't execute, and they have a choke point, and it's because of their current thinking. But the truth is that they could give that to someone with a different skill of how they get shit done. And they would, that limiting belief from constraining their own mindset wouldn't hold them back from the goal. What skills do you want to have, right? So create systems and processes and methods. Just remember this. I'm going to leave you guys with this. You're either moving closer to your goals or further away. And so if you're going to spend time on something, guys, make it count. Your time is the most precious asset you have. Don't live your life by transaction. Live it by strategy. So habit stacking, mental models, accountability, design your environment, understand the art of deconstruction, control your emotional state, don't be emotional, although that's important, but be able to control your emotional reactions instead of responses to situations. Remember that if you didn't get to the goal, the number one thing they said, it was a Joe Rogan podcast. He interviewed this like psychologist. It was amazing, but it was all about, do you reset the goal or do you give up on it? If you just reset the goal, you're not going to hit it every time. But they said if you just keep resetting it, the law says that over time, people who reset the goal end up getting there. So, and just have an awareness of where you're investing your time. So I think about it like this. What's my biography going to be? You know what I mean? Is my biography going to be, Michael Reese, or are they going to say ultra marathon runner? What are you like? You need to write that, right? Think about who you're going to be, what your grandkids are going to think, the book you're going to write. Think about, what they're going to say at your funeral. What kind of person were you? Who were you? That gives you the framework. to really get a clear picture of what you want them to look like. You know, what's your LinkedIn going to say 5 years from now? You know, is your LinkedIn going to, what is it going to say? What's your LinkedIn going to say 5 years from now? What's it going to say? You know, I got a buddy, he just ran another 100-mile run. Since I did the ultra, he's did like freaking 800 milers. You know what I mean? His came from this, and he was the last person I've ever thought that we, what's the time check right now, Kitchens?
I know you got about, I mean, we're good on time. I know you've got a hard stop. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes for your hard stop.
All right, cool. If there were no limitations or consequences, what would you do? What would your perfect day look like? I do this exercise all the time. I could show you my screen. I wish I could, but you know, I'm living it now. But I wrote it out on January 2nd, 2016, where I'm at right now. If you reverse engineer kicking over the sandcastle and the things that happened along the way, there was a lot of intention about where I was incongruent with where I was living. I had no idea what was going to happen, but what I did know is that my days and where I was investing my time didn't look like I was getting to where I wanted to be. So dissect the question, right? And really understand the limitation, the consequences. You know, this is living your perfect day. You know, understand where you want to be financially. Sorry for the misspelling. Geographic, health, the people. If you were going to live your perfect day, one perfect day, you know, where would you wake up? Where would you go to bed? What time would you wake up? How would you feel? How would you look? Where would you be? Would you be on a beach? Would you be, you know, for me, for some reason, there's a long run and a cold plunge. I don't know why, but like I have this cold plunge that I see in Tony Robbins' backyard.
Me too, man. So I went through this like hardcore December 26, 2017, and I just free floated out. And there's like 12 to 15 pages going through and just flowing it out. And what it does for me is it creates the decision-making filters. Just like I always think back to you sitting in that office and you look back and you're like, that's not my perfect day. That mental model has always been ingrained. And I go through that just thinking about that in every aspect of my life when I make those decisions. Right. And I think that goes back to even the goal setting. Cause like, man, is that congruent with where I want to be? Does that in alignment with where, you know, what my LinkedIn is going to say 5 years from now? So it just helps creating just great decision-making filters.
Hell yeah. And it's all this is more important than if you get this stuff right, guys, you can do anything. I feel like I can do anything. I can run 100 miles. I'll run 200 miles. You know, I saw a guy who swam 75 miles in the ocean. I do think I have a limit. And I don't know if I could, I don't could do that. I mean, I don't like being shark bait, but I'm sure I could. If my life depended on it, it was to save my kids and I had to do it, I physically could train to do it. I believe so. I think anybody can do anything, you know, Yep. But you know, it's not just about stuff when you're designing your perfect day. Where do you live? What would your house look like? Guys, listen, I walked into the house that I live in right now and I told my wife, I swear to you, I didn't want to pull in the neighborhood and she talked me into it. And I promise you, I'm not making this up. I said 5 years from now, it'd be amazing to come home to this house every day. And 12 months later to the month, I bought that house when I had no freaking way. I was living in a lake house that was 900 square foot with no cabinet doors and no countertops.
1 hour drive, one way.
Yeah, driving 51 miles a day, one way every day. And so, you know, what would your mornings look like? What would you eat for breakfast, right? Just get clear, you know, what would you do for personal fulfillment? What would your life purpose be? You know, what would be your main income source? I did these. Like, I'm telling you, I sat down just like Kitchen. And the thing is that I'm telling, and like, if we were just sitting on my back porch just talking, I believe in my heart that for some reason, God bless, he's just made it either the stuff just works when you think about it, or you attract it. I don't know how, but I know one thing, there's a power in your subconscious mind when you take the time to get really focused on what you want your life to look like. What things would you do to produce value in the world? What would your clients say you were the best in the world at? You know, what would they say? Would your clients just rave about you and say, man, you're just so blah, 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 and you just care about blah, 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 and you're just da, da, da. You know, the things you could not buy. How would your kids describe you? How would your best friend describe you? How would your spouse describe you? What things, if you were living your perfect day, what things would you accomplish with your family? What would be your kids' biggest complaint about you, right? What habits of yours would you hope your kids never pick up? That's my number one, brother. That's my number one. That's my number one. That's always on my mind. Always. What habit do I have that I want to make sure that my kids never pick up? And my wife asks me all the time, she says, why is your wine glass over here? You know, and I'll leave them in random spots because, you know, and it sounds stupid, but like if I'm drinking a glass of wine and my kids, I hear them, you know, I'll set it behind a backpack. I just do. I don't think that it's right or wrong. But if I don't want them to, I mean, I don't mind them seeing me drink. I just, you know, maybe not as often as I am, you know. What things would you stay up late for? What would your evenings be? You know, who would you spend them with? What things would you think of right before you go to sleep? You know, would you be free? Would you have free rack space and be inspired and happy and thinking great thoughts? Or would you be stressed and wondering about, you know, things that are keeping you up at night right now? How would you buy your time? How do you buy your time now? How do you leverage your time? You know, when you want to stop trading your time for money. And I did this presentation before we were at EXP. You know, the funny thing was when I went back to it, this was the last question. Had nothing. We didn't even have EXP, dude, at this point, right?
Yeah.
When this presentation was, they were coming to speak at that event, if you remember right, Sheila and Rob Flick.
Yep.
And this presentation was already created, and the reason why is because in my mind I was already attracting in the world the word passive income. And since I did this presentation in November 2017. You know, I went from almost less than $1,000 passive income to 6 figures passive income, not even knowing that, you know, getting done with this presentation, about to watch the EXP presentation for the first time in my life. And that's how intention and congruent that I was trying to design the life that I actually designed by kicking over the sandcastle, by becoming congruent and getting a clear picture of where I wanted to be. So, hey, guys, I appreciate every single one of you. Couldn't have done it without you. Love you guys. The goal was to help you guys. Hopefully you found this valuable and helpful. If you want to increase, you know, maybe if you have a health goal, go check us out. Go to we have a daily accountability group. Yeah, We've had that for years and years and years and years. We post our, at least our accountability around being exercise. There's hundreds and hundreds of real estate agents, EXP agents that post in there. If you need any help or support, we're here for you. Not just making money, not just selling more houses, but getting to all of your goals. So thank you guys so much.
Awesome, man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Amazing call. Thank you for adding value as always, being a true expert mentor and dropping the knowledge for everybody today. For all of you guys tuning in, listening, man, share some love when we post this on Facebook, and definitely share what are some of your biggest takeaways. Appreciate you. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.